AI delegation. It's a key skill nobody is talking about these days, and it is way more important than prompting tactics or recent updates with LLM models. By the end of this video, you will know precisely how to delegate work to AI, what to avoid, and how to get most value working with AI on a day-to-day basis. So let's kick off. AI delegation topic starts with a big question. Shall the task or activity be done by AI tools or by a human, by yourself, your team, or your colleague? And here, not always the answer is by default we should go with everything to AI. There are certain areas where definitely we should stick doing stuff ourselves. For instance, you want to be authentic. If you are crafting a message to your team, to your clients, to your colleagues, you don't want really AI to do that for you. Of course, AI can help you a bit, tweak things a bit, maybe give you some ideas, but this is a type of activity that really should stay with leaders to have that, honest and authentic messaging. So that's just one example where the activity can be still done by a human and rather should be. Equally, think about activities that really takes a while to validate AI outcome. Let's say, there is a task you ask AI to do and it saves you like 5 or 3 minutes of your own work, right? You don't have to do it yourself. AI will prepare a certain type of insights or review or email yourself. But then if you need to spend extra 15 to 30 minutes to validate what has been covered in the email, what's the sources of that data, well, that's not necessarily the best ROI of your time when using AI. And this is really big thing. This is really big thing for you to try to assess whether you're working with AI on a task by task basis. What's the ROI from that? What's return on your time investment when it comes to working with AI? In certain cases, AI is doing amazing difference, let's be honest, and it can do loads. But in other cases, not necessarily, and maybe it's easier to spend those 2, 3, 5 minutes doing it yourself, making sure it's done in a valid and solid way, and then you don't need to really do extra checks and confirmations, etc. and so on. So ROI, asking yourself about ROI on a given task is a good idea in general. Also, final point in this first area of delegation, which, the area is like whether humans should be doing the activity or AI, is also about the tool set you already have. So you have certain tools you are using day-to-day basis that are doing good enough job, or maybe even great job, and you don't need to replace everything by AI. Great example, my friend told me recently, he was playing around with a spreadsheet with loads of data, and he was doing that through Claude Cowork, so effectively agentic work. And he wanted Claude to break down that data in a certain way, in certain tables, so that he can input that into the client presentation. Interestingly, the underlying data was really changing. There were some updates to that data in the spreadsheet, etc. and so on. And each time he needed to kind of run the Claude Cowork again and again to repeat the task. The task was really very much token heavy. And reality was as follows. He already had a great tool to kind of do the bulk of the analysis, to do bulk of what AI was doing. And it really was pivot tables within Google Sheets. You can summarize things super easily and then ask AI to grab data from that pivot table, right? And what he was doing initially, it was the opposite. AI was doing everything to aggregate that data, which was very time-consuming activity. Claude Cowork really write a script to run that data analysis on the fly. So sometimes we do have good tools that like pivot tables, like super simple stuff in Google Sheets or in Microsoft Excel. Sometimes we have great dashboards in our systems, financial systems. We can tap into and use that data to prepare presentations and do that by AI. But let's use the tools we are already having. So this is, the first part of AI delegation is deciding whether the task should be done by human or by AI itself. The second thing is really to decompose the activity. especially if we have something more complex. Think about what type of steps needs to be done if you would be doing the task. And then think about which steps are well suited for a human and which steps are well suited for AI. In that regards, there could be a case where you kind of extract certain data from different systems. There are great Claude connectors, for instance, you can use that for. And then you have a bit of an overview of the data and insights. And then you apply, next step, you apply your own insights and your own knowledge that AI doesn't possess, your own human judgment to that data. You understand the clients you have, the brands you're working with, based on your experience, based on the relation you have there. So AI is lacking all of that. So there is a step in the process that you want to do yourself. Then once you have your kind of insight added to that data, then you can ask AI again to prepare the presentation that will summarize that nicely, do some validations around it, then off you go. So you can imagine there are quite a few processes that you can break down to the different steps, and each step can be done by AI, but each step could be equally done by a human. So it's up to you to do that assessment, to make sure you delegate to AI where it really makes sense, and you keep the stuff that should stay with you. So that's the second part of AI delegation, which is task decomposition and then deciding who should be doing what. The third step in AI delegation is choosing the right mode of cooperation with AI. I covered the modes of cooperation with AI, which are called 3 ACEs, in a separate video about AI fluency framework, which is a yet bigger topic to cover. I will link the other video, of course, in the details of this one. But long story short, you have 3 modes of cooperation with AI. So you can cooperate with AI in 3 core main ways. The first one is automation. You more or less know what steps needs to be done and you ask AI to follow those steps. So this is more or less repetitive work. The second mode is augmentation. It's more of a partner-like relation where you ask something to AI, AI gives you some insights, then you provide more info to AI, etc. and so on. So that's more of a repeating process, back and forth, exchanging ideas. There is a big creative element there that AI helps you a lot with. So that's augmentation mode. And finally, we have agency mode, where you are not sure how the task should be done. It's not necessarily back and forth. You really know what the outcome should be, and you want to delegate that to AI. So AI acts as a manager, a very independent one. And that agency mode is, in reality, really used by agents like Claude Cowork, for instance, performing different type of activities to get to the outcome that was mentioned. So you have those 3 modes: automation, augmentation, and agency. And you need to choose, when you are delegating work to AI, which mode you are working with, because that will, define how you should do the prompt, what type of parts of that cooperation you should validate, etc. and so on. So to be efficient, you need to understand those modes and you need to choose the right one for a given context and activity. And then finally, once you have, decision whether you are doing the task or AI, when it's decomposed nicely, you understand which mode you are in. Then you can clearly say you more or less know how to kind of pass on the activity to AI. And you need to choose step number 4, the last one in that framework. You need to choose which model you should use. Many people use one model only. ChatGPT or Gemini are very much like general purpose AI models, but there are specific models that are well suited for a very specific activities. Let me give you a few examples. So for instance, if you are doing a research, you can use NotebookLM to simply dump all of the data you have into one place, and AI really work only within that context so that there are no AI hallucinations. You have clear reference to the files you uploaded. Or Perplexity is great for doing the research online, where you need to kind of tap into different online type of information. So research-wise, that's one example. Another example would be agentic work, where you need your AI tool to connect to the different system, perform different steps, write a script, build a presentation, build a document, maybe send a Slack message, send an email. Claude Cowork is great for that. So if that's a more of a agentic work, yeah, that's how it works. If you're looking for latest news, I would say Gemini is really great. XAI, X.com AI is good one as well. And then finally, for image generation, you will probably choose a different model. You can use Nano Banana, or you can use some others, but not necessarily the same models as you do for the research. So being aware of the different models to start with, understanding the differences of those, and then using the models appropriately depending on what the task really is the final step of AI delegation. And we have plenty of models to choose these days, so some base awareness is really something I would highly encourage you to have. In terms of, the idea I kind of shared with you, the example I shared with you a second ago. So, just to summarize, those 4 parts of AI delegations are as follows. First, ask the question, should the task be done by me, by a human, or should it be done by AI? Second step, decompose the task into steps, and then decide which step should be done by whom. Number 3, understand which mode of cooperation is that really when it comes to working with AI. Is it automation, augmentation, or agency? And finally, choose the right platform. Once you will kind of master that, then you can go into the prompting, you can go into the validation, into the next steps of AI fluency framework I cover on the different video. So I hope you found AI delegation topic useful. If you did, please let me know in comments what you think about that, and I would greatly appreciate if you could share that video with your friends, with your colleagues. That's a big support for me when creating content like that. Have a great time, have a great day. Cheers. Bye.